answer. They didn't actually address the concerns that we are actually having as a club. We're terrible right now. We're literally mid-table fodder. There's no player that really takes me out of my seat, barring a Cole Palmer, and he shouldn't even be the best player of Chelsea's team. Knowing that Chelsea, at the time.
Let me ask you a question, bro. Do you know what one thing I respect about you? You said it on the last show, and Don nearly lost his mind when you said that a lot of these players aren't good enough. I know you're not very happy with a lot of the players that you've purchased.
100%.
And I get you there. And we're going to, what are the big money players that you've signed that you think are absolutely wrong for Chelsea and are just not at the standard?
I wouldn't say big, from top to bottom, every signing that we've done, the only ones I would keep, that makes it easier. The only players that I would say are good bits of business is Malo Gusto for 18 million or 20 million. That was a class signing. We needed a Reece James cover. We expected him to get injured. It happened. He's only played 5 games for us, and Gusto's actually been class for us. Caicedo wasn't overpaid. The fact where we celebrated getting a Win Stanley, the fan base on social media celebrated bringing in the Lawrence Stewart and a Win Stanley because of the relationships they had with Brighton. The negotiations stalled for pretty much a whole preseason. Caicedo came in with no preseason, and we overpaid 115 million. We knew the price. We stalled for so much, but Caicedo's actually been okay. I don't like the fact that Caicedo's grouped with Enzo Fernandez, who I don't think he's actually good enough, or what the media say he is, or what the average Chelsea fan will say he is. But I think Caicedo's been a class, and I like Cole Palmer signing. I wasn't happy with the Cole Palmer signing at the time because Fabrizio was done a live stream, and he was like, "Oh, it appeared to me in a dream. Chelsea are about to sign a superstar marquee signing from a Champions League club," and I'm like, "Finally, we're getting some experience in." And then I see Cole Palmer, and I'm like, "You're taking a mick." But he's come in and he's been class. So them 3 for me. Okay, you could say Jackson's all right, but Jackson is more. I look at Jackson more as a second striker, like how we used to have a Demba Ba in the past or a Batshuayi in the past, and then we had a Diego Costa starting, or a Drogba starting. Mm-hmm. He's more of a cup striker.
Some way back there, CB, for some good strikers, man.
Yeah, it's a striker.
10 and 20 years.
I wouldn't be surprised if Batshuayi still on your books, because that guy always seems to still be there, even when we thought he was gone.
Surely not, man. Surely not, man.
This is one thing I don't kind of get with you, and this is I'm not calling you out. I'm just trying to understand this. It's not a call out. Is you rightfully call out lots of poor signings? The football project is bad. How you treated managers is bad. Yeah. But yet you still seem to have complete and utter faith that these same owners that you call Clown Lake are going to not have these financial issues and are not going to damage you in that way. That's what I don't quite because, by the way, if tomorrow it was announced that Man United have breached and the Glazers have messed up and we're getting a points deduction, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, because my owners are awful. That's the only bit I don't quite understand is if they're bad at everything else, why are they going to get that bit right when all the financial experts say that area seems more like Armageddon than anywhere else in your club?
For me, honestly, a part of it is just COPIUM, if I'm being honest with you. Just knowing them being
I respect that.
I respect that a lot, bro.
Truth, they came in our team, and the main things they were pressing upon, and the reason why the fans had a disconnect with the ownership from the very beginning is because they kept highlighting sustainability, profits, bringing in young players, flipping the money, using our academy to flip money, etc., etc. That was the main thing they drilled into the fan base. So it is hopium at the end of the day, but I would like to believe you're a private equity firm. You're addressing the financial, that everything that you've done in terms of getting rid of the experienced players, bringing in younger players, lowering the wage bill, etc., which has hindered us as a club performance-wise. I would like to think there's a silver lining behind why we're doing this. That's
CB. I need to. You don't remember this? Do you know it was big banks and private equity firms that sent the whole world into financial Armageddon? This is the thing, right? As much as they should know what they're doing, they have a long history, these types of organizations of, I'm going to quote LB here. They're ambitious, but their ambition, their eyes can sometimes be too big for their bellies. And honestly, if I was a Chelsea fan, it's great you guys have sent letters in about the ticket prices, but your supporters' trust should be demanding conversations about FFP, demanding conversations about these investigations, because look, I think LB, you read it out the other day, and I'll say fair play to LB on this because he included City in it. That line, I want to hand it over to you actually, because you'll probably explain it better than me. That line inside the documentation on Forest's hearing is loud, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So it said in the Nottingham Forest hearing, right? And again, you've got to ask yourself, why have they put this in the Nottingham Forest hearing? But they said, where a breach is described as major, then it may be the case that even a very severe sanction, such as expulsion, is appropriate. You've got to ask yourself the question, why have they put that in the Nottingham Forest thing? I look at it, right, and go, well, hang on a minute. Financial experts are telling us that Chelsea have got a £200 million black hole. They've got to sort that out by June the 30th. The players that you've mentioned, I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't want any of your players. I'm pretty sure Rory and Tom probably wouldn't want it either. So who's going to pay that money? Then you had the point that Rory made earlier about, can teams actually buy them? Bro, I think you could be in trouble, man. And by the way, that goes for City as well. I'm quite happy to accept that. But I think Chelsea are in serious shit, bro. 200 mil.
As well with Chelsea, their model is flawed in the basis that on paper, yes, it looks like a money-making model. You bring in young players, they play, they go up in value, you sell on. That doesn't include all the variables, such as injuries, such as overall team performance, which affects a player's value, such as, in their case, they've sold a lot of the experienced players. Who do these young players who need to develop and look up to someone turn to? But an OAP Thiago Silva, who is now doing more damage for Chelsea when he plays than good, and Raheem Sterling, who is routinely getting booed by his own fans. That is the experience in the dressing room.
Thiago Silva is currently being ostracized by the team, from the team, due to his wife after the Wolves game, after the battering 4-2 at home. Even when that happened, I stayed to the end. It was getting boos all around. Halftime, we're losing. The booing at halftime, they'd done the Chinese New Year thing that wasn't received well. They also were promoting I think the Bob Marley movie at the time in the stadium. Thiago Silva's wife, Belle Silva, tweeted, change needs to be made. Since she made that tweet, it went viral, it popped off. He has not played a minute for us. The reason I looked at that tweet and I saw it as Belle Silva, by the way, don't get it wrong, she's proper Chelsea. I've been to Champions League away games and seen her on an EasyJet with all her kids sitting with the fans, partying with us, having a laugh, singing the songs, knowing the chants. So she's proper Chelsea, don't get it wrong. But she was talking about the ownership. That's how I looked at that tweet. She wasn't talking about the managerial situation. She's been there. She's seen the Abramovich stuff. He's the only Thiago Silva and Sterling are the only two players to have 250 league appearances in the whole squad. None of them do.
And now you've ostracized them from the team. So that means you have, so that's what we're saying. Yeah. Chelsea's self-damaging themselves. And when we say things like Clearwater or Blueco, well, they're equity company, the financial equity company, they know what they're doing. Dude, Silicon Valley Bank closed last year. Third largest bank failure in the history of America. That is a massive bank. This is a bank that they closed, shut down, gone, poof, in the air. So you have to realize that these things can happen to the best of people.
I agree. LB, I want to throw a tweet out to you. This is one of the tweets that someone connected into us earlier about potentially being kicked out the league. This tweet was from a City fan that says, I know I'll be in the minority, but I'd effing love it. One last dance at a few of the old stomping grounds from the good old days. Almost advocating that he wouldn't mind being kicked out the Premier League as a City fan and going back down to Plymouth and etc. Do you advocate that? Are you joining him on his road trip to Devon?
I would rather not be kicked out the Premier League, to be honest with you. I quite enjoy winning the treble. But listen, I know a lot of old school City fans, you know what I mean, who followed City when we're in the lower divisions, who don't, proper football fans who don't follow clubs for just success, right? They follow the club because they enjoy going to the football at the weekend. They're not asked who you're playing. You know what I mean? Not asked whether you're playing at Real Madrid or Burnley away. They just like following the club. So I know loads of City fans. I'm sure all fan bases have it. Me personally, though, I would rather be playing in the Champions League and playing at the high stages. But listen, I think there's a lot of people who are not that arsed. Because a lot of people, Terry, are just they just enjoy watching football, don't they? They don't really care.
Yeah,
would you stop supporting United if they got relegated, or you still support them?
I would definitely would do it. I think the way it's worded, I'm well up for this. I don't agree with being well up for it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want Man United to get relegated, but I wouldn't stop supporting them. And that's one of the reasons that the last 10 years has been awful for us. But the good thing about it is, I think that It's good for certain fan bases to go through times of trouble or not always having the glory, because it makes you appreciate it more when you win. I'm telling you that now. And so a lot of the older United fans that I met when I lived in Manchester, they went through they went through the 70s and the 80s, and they used to tell me stories, and I never believed them. Now, it weren't that bad, was it? And then you go through it yourself, and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's terrible. But yeah, look, lots to unpack when it comes to that. We've got some super chats here to do.